Miss, I need you, miss.
Hey, what is going on, all my fellow godlies and Warframe enthusiasts around the world? This is Vance from the ever-popular web series Warframe God Builds, and today we're going to be having a re-look at the Toxic Queen herself, SARYN. And I gotta say, I am just minutes off of the commentary for Korra. Like, I don't know if anybody knows the creative process behind God Builds and how they're created, but I'll literally try to plan out accordingly all the commentaries that I do. So I just recorded the commentary for Korra God Builds, so I'm talking to you from the past. And why that's relevant, why I even mention that at all, is because we just got the SARYN rework. I mean, we just got it like 2 days ago, and I had to prioritize making the trailer for Korra and then doing the commentary for her before I could get to SARYN. So I wanted to release a disclaimer in the form of this build being obsolete by the time I upload it to YouTube. SARYN's rework positioning is being put into question as we speak. Like, legitimately, Digital Extremes is under the assumption that SARYN is overpowered in Sanctuary Onslaught, and really I disagree with them times a million. SARYN, I think, is essential to any Sanctuary Onslaught group because she is the only thing that can guarantee you keep up your efficiency. Because this game mode, even though I personally love it, it's flawed. The efficiency is almost impossible to keep up, and SARYN is the only thing that can keep it up. So I think that a Sanctuary Onslaught rework is much more needed than a SARYN. I think that Digital Extreme should prioritize fixing that before they fix SARYN. Because, you know, just grinding is not in a good place right now. Relics are a pain in the ass. Everything's just grind. It's very monotonous, and the game's losing its fun factor, at least in my opinion. I could be wrong, so let's just move on with the build and get on with it, should we? So you'll find that I don't have a lot of power strength anymore, and with the initial God build for SARYN, you had a crap ton of power strength because that was effectively the way to build for her, and now that's just not the case. I think SARYN's been changed like 3 times now, and it's going to be 4 probably by the time this video goes up. So just note that this is all subject to change, but currently, as I'm recording the commentary for this is the best way to build. You only have growing power present here and some transient fortitude prime continuity, just to make sure that numbers stay relatively close to 100%. Otherwise, you're going to run with stretch, augur reach, cunning drift, and overextended. These are critical mods for Sanctuary Onslaught. How her powers work now is when you do spores, you will pop the spores and it will spread the infection. And it'll have a little counter to the bottom right hand corner of your screen that will say number of enemies infected and how long they've been infected for, and everything, all of your damage output is based off of those 2 factors: how many enemies are affected and how long they've been affected for. So if you can keep the spores going, that's what's important. Arcane Victory here. In the event that I get a headshot, I can maybe heal myself. And Arcane Rage, if I get a headshot with that means that my damage is going to go up. So everything's based off of a headshot here, and we've got a weapon with a good relative amount of spread that's going to make it easy for you to hit spores and headshots. So Regenerative Molt is probably the only vital mod that you need to put into this build other than the Rage mods. Range is obviously very important, but Regenerative Molt is also important because if you got a lot of fuckers that like to leave prematurely, I get people that want to leave at like wave 8, and it's ridiculous. So if you want to go longer than that, if you want to go to like clear 12 waves of this, you're gonna need Regenerative Molt because she's squishy otherwise. And even with Regenerative Molt, I gotta stress the fact that SARYN is primarily for DPS and keeping up the efficiency in Sanctuary Onslaught. Otherwise, she's going to go down, and she's going to go down a lot. So When I think of this as a god build, I don't think of this as a all-in-one kill everything and stay alive while you're doing it type of build. What I think of this is as like a personal guarantee that as long as your teammates take care of you, you can take care of the efficiency. So that's what that's intended for, and it's important that you take note of that. For primaries and for secondaries, unfortunately, you're limited to a very small pool of weapons. Like if you were going to build for spore popping, I would definitely go for Comb. I may go for Ignis Wraith. That would help you, but you're just very, very limited. You need something that has a big cone, like a widespread amount effect. So a Dracoon, an Ignis, a Comb, definitely a Comb. So I'm going to show the build. I know that I've showcased this way too much. Like this was in an Excalibur video. This was in Vauban ReForged, if you're a follower of my series. I can't remember who else. It may have been in the initial god builds for SARYN. But the only thing that changed here from back then is Hunter munitions. We just didn't have that, obviously. I swapped this out for like, I think it was something fire related. But anyways, you're going to want to run with Prime Point Blank, Health Chamber, Frail Momentum, Comb especially. The fire rate is very important, so Shotgun Spaz, Frail Momentum, Prime Shotgun Ammo Mutation, because you will run out of ammo really quickly spraying with this. Shell Shock and Toxic Barrage to increase your status chance up to like 82%. It does crit a considerable amount, so Hunter Munitions is going to bleed them out, which is really nice. You're primarily using this weapon not for its damage though, you're primarily using it to pop the spores, because it's very, very easy to do that. Same thing with Static War, mirror the same thing, because I've used Static War for like Ember god builds, I've used it for Oberon, possibly the Oberon Reforged, Atlas. I've used it for a lot of Warframes, and one could assess that the reason why I'm using it a lot is because it's a damn good weapon. But mostly because it has a very good splash damage, and you're going to need that to pop spores. Like in the sad event that you run out of ammo for Comb, which I can't imagine that you would, because we're using Carrier Prime with its ammo case, plus a shotgun mutation, or even if you go down, this is really good at popping spores. And for the second time now, since this is using the same loadout as Korra, like literally the only thing I do is swap out the Warframe, the weapon on my companion, and then the primary. So Mjolnir, Thor's hammer, which I showcased in the Korra trailer. If you haven't seen it, go watch it, because it tugs at the heartstrings. I think that it provides a lot to the Exidium continuity, if you're interested in that, and I could always use some feedback on that. Go watch the Korra trailer. I didn't just show Mjolnir in that for aesthetic purposes. Like, this weapon really rocks. I showcased this in the Korra God build, and it's amazing. Why I'm using it is because it does great damage, and paired with Exodia Epidemic, if you're in a high stress situation, you can do a bullet jump or a double jump, and then ground pound. It'll throw a shockwave forward that will suspend enemies, so it provides a break in the action, give you a chance to heal with regenerative molt. The only hindrance to this build is the stances. They just suck. They just suck so bad. Like, the stances, animations are bad and slow. It's like whacking enemies in the face with a 2x4. As I said in the Korra build, I opted to try and initially build for speed, and all I ended up doing was lacking strength at that point. So this is the final product of that. And as I mentioned previously, Carrier Prime, just using it for ammo case. That and the fact that Carrier Prime is one of the strongest. It's got, you know, health 1,280. It's pretty, I wouldn't say tanky Sentinel, but it'll stay alive in pretty high-end gameplay. So you need this for ammo case. Like I said, in the sad and unfortunate event that you run out of ammo for Comb, this is going to help you a lot. And then for Volclock, now I'm using Volclock here instead of Sweeper Prime, because as I mentioned it previously in a bunch of videos, but anytime I'm using a primary that is a rifle in my main loadout, I'll use a shotgun to avoid mix matching mods. you'll find that problem a lot. Like if you're using a SARYN here, but you're also using the same SARYN in a rifle, your loadout will bug you. It's like, oh, it's using the same mod. So to avoid that, I just use a rifle for my primary, and then I'll use a shotgun on my sentinel. And then if I have a shotgun on my primary, then I'll use a rifle for my sentinel. And that's what I'm rolling with here. It's just a rifle for the sentinel, while I'm using this comb, which is labeled as a shotgun. Why, I don't know. But if you roll with a build like this, the mentality here is to cast the spore as quickly as you can. As soon as you get into each new map, cast a spore on any enemy you can, pop the spores, and continuously keep popping spores. If you start to die, cast your regenerative molt. If you're too far away from the enemies that are being damaged by spores and the number of enemies is falling, you can pop off the ult, and that sometimes makes the spores spread as well. That's really handy. Toxic Lash is probably the only power that I don't use in this kit, and I know that if they rework SARYN, they're probably going to try to make sure that players encompass all abilities, as they do with every Warframe. So that's it, and that's that for the SARYN ReForged, and I hope that you've learned something from it. If you have, it always helps out if you like, share, comment, subscribe, do everything I always encourage you to do. Check out my speed paints, check out my trailers. I will go so far as to say that my trailers are probably more entertaining than the builds themselves. Same can be said about my speed paints, so if you haven't done that already, please do that. And until next time, this has been Vance, signing out. Peace.